There was an undercurrent in the economy pre-COVID. It was very unfortunate for India that that COVID came. It was a very inopportune time because had it not come, I think it is quite possible that the quarter ended June may have produced India's best growth rate in 10 years. A lot of work to be done. India needs to build infrastructure. It needs to sort out the anomalies in GST. There's a direct tax reform that is impending. There's a lot of bureaucratic reform that is impending.
Ridham, thank you for your time. My first question to you would be, what is happening in the markets? Why markets are so bullish currently?
Markets are responding to the massive liquidity infusion that governments across the world and central banks across the world gave in response to the pandemic. So when the pandemic broke out in February, March, we saw unprecedented coordination between governments and central banks and unprecedented synchronicity across geographic borders. And the type of liquidity infusion that has been done has never been seen in the history of the world. It has surpassed the levels we got in 2008 in response to the global financial crisis. So all that liquidity has found its way into the asset markets, whether it's equities or gold. I dare say it will also go into the property market over time. It essentially means that the downside risk on the economies have been protected with this proactive action, and therefore the markets are responding to the likelihood that economies will be strong going forward.
Looking at COVID visibility now with the news on vaccine and Biden presidency, these are only talking points or these are also factors driving the markets?
COVID remains a factor. The vaccine is going to take several months before it reaches the world. And in the meanwhile, look at India, for example. We are entering winter months. We have the festival season. We have rising pollution. These are factors that will help a resurgence in COVID if we are not careful. And while I don't expect another national lockdown, we could always get some regional lockdowns and we could always get some retraction in economic activity as a consequence. So we have to be very careful about it. And I think this risk factor remains. In fact, if you see what's happened in US and Europe in the month of October, I think it's a telltale sign that if you're not careful, COVID can come back and come back very, very hard. Cases in both these places have exceeded the previous peak. I'm not sure India has the appetite for another surge where cases go beyond 100,000 a day. The US presidential election obviously has implications on how US policy evolves. We have to also see the Senate outcome, which is still not there, because that will determine how the US policymakers respond with their second fiscal package and how quickly that comes. And that will essentially play out in terms of economic growth as well as the view on the bottom.
What will you advise the new investor? Because in the COVID period, we have seen a big rush of new investors in stock markets.
So my advice remains the same. Investors should approach equity markets with a healthy dose of skepticism. It's not something that can be timed very easily. And trading the market does not yield good results. In fact, traders usually end up losing money, which investors make. So the approach should be to systematically invest on a monthly basis or on a quarterly basis into, say, index ETFs and sit and do your, set that thing aside and then continue to do your daily work, it's a dispassionate, unemotional approach to equity investing, because equity investing can be very hard if you cannot control your emotions.
If you believe that it is a bullish mood, then everyone is tempted to look at short term and start investing money. And generally, your advice is about long term, 3 to 4 years. But I would still ask, in the short term context, do you think this rally is going to sustain, or there are some downside risks?
So there will always remain risks to the downside in the short as well as in the long run. There could be a policy error because somebody underestimates the impact of COVID and withdraws stimulus too quickly, or does not put in fresh stimulus. There could be another resurgence in COVID, which may cause economies around the world to stall. So we do not know those things. I generally go by what the price is doing. If the price is rich, then you sit back and wait for it to correct. And you buy at the right price, usually you don't lose money.
what kind of specific sectors, and especially when you are looking at Indian companies, what are the companies are go area for you, no go area for you in terms of their balance sheet, their financial health, their corporate governance?
So all those factors matter when you're investing in individual businesses. As far as cyclicals are concerned, I would include both consumer and industrial cyclicals. So these are the companies that benefit when capex goes up. So those which benefit from investments. Consumer cyclicals are the ones that consumers make purchases when their incomes are going up. So it may be autos and therefore auto parts, travel, leisure, even entertainment. These are discretionary spends that people make. So those are the areas which excite us. Cement, that's an industrial cyclical.
Very interesting. So despite uncertainty, which is now reducing, but uncertainty on the COVID front, you think that tourism and entertainment and leisure will grow significantly?
So I think, Sanjay, there was an undercurrent in the economy pre-COVID. It was very unfortunate for India that that COVID came. It was a very inopportune time, because had it not come, I think it is quite possible that the quarter ended June may have produced India's best growth rate in 10 years, because there was already recovery happening. So that recovery is now back in play. I don't think COVID has damaged that recovery. It has only postponed that recovery. So it has got postponed, and we are seeing it now in the data. Of course, there is an element of pent-up demand. So all of it is not new demand, but I think new demand is on its way. And if income streams are strong, which I suspect they will be, people will spend money. The other thing which I think we should note on the side is that there is a big change happening in agriculture. So we should not underestimate the potency of the new farm laws and how that could lift farmers in India. And if that happens, we are talking about half of India's workforce, which is largely the poorest of poor in India, which may experience a buoyancy in income, and then they will move out of the bottom of the pyramid to consume, things other than roti, kapda, makan.
Right. So we always talk about this great potential that India has and the opportunities, even in the post-COVID world, India is presented with. But what are the downside in terms of what government needs to do and all stakeholders need to fix? What are those key areas?
No, so this assumes that they will not let up on policy. There's a lot of work to be done. India needs to build infrastructure. It needs to sort out the anomalies in GST. There's a direct tax reform that is impending. There's a lot of bureaucratic reform that is impending. We've seen some measures in taxation, but there are other areas where the government will want to reduce red tape. There is potential changes in contract law, and also with respect to land laws. So there's a fair bit of work still to be done. It's ongoing. I think there is a change that I'm sensing with the things that have happened in the last 2-3 months. There's a newfound enthusiasm, it seems, to boost the economy.
How have Indian corporate sector responded in the COVID period?
I'm very encouraged to see the pandemic response. Most companies have reacted with rationalizing cost structures, but not necessarily firing people, because I think they understood this was temporary and not permanent. Unless you had a very weak balance sheet and you could not sustain expenditure for even 3 months. Then I've seen M&A, actually mergers and acquisitions, hit multi-quarter highs. So companies have used this opportunity to acquire other businesses that maybe have weakened because of the pandemic. We've seen a lot of capital raising happening, so boosting the balance sheet. And then there are other companies, the slightly weaker ones, that have sold non-core businesses to strengthen their core businesses. So to my mind, I think corporate India, the data tells me, has reacted in a very positive way and has used this as an opportunity to kind of reset, so that it can look forward with a better earning cycle.